And it's no time for caution, ladies and gentlemen. We're back with another show of We're Gonna Need a Bigger Blog. I'm your host, Alec Holker, and tonight we're talking about the legendary, magnificent, mind-boggling Interstellar. Christopher Nolan directed it. It was in 2014, and tonight I think it's a Jack episode tonight. I have Jack Ritchie all the way from DePaul University representing the Tigers, right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Say hi to
D3 Dreams, baby.
Say hi to all our DePaul fans out there who are listening.
All those Tigers out there, I hope you're listening. I'm going to try and kill it for you guys, all right?
Yeah, they're on fall break right now. What a special visit all the way from Greencastle, Indiana. And on our other mic, we have the other Jack Schneider.
How's it going?
He's a local here, but only during the summers, so I don't know why he's still here.
But it's true. I'm a Chicago resident.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we're going to have a full packed hour of Interstellar. A fantastic movie. And on our way over here, we were already just getting ahead of ourselves. And so, before we get started,
you may want to buckle up because you know we are already.
Oh, yeah. And before...
Oh, for sure.
Oh, for sure. And before we get started...
locked and loaded.
As we always do, we'll play a trailer for you just to get the mind of... Just get the mentality of what you're going to hear. And it's just fantastic. Jack, take it away.
We've always defined ourselves by the ability to overcome the impossible. And we count these moments.
The first ever to fly faster than the speed of sound.
These moments when we dared to aim higher, to break barriers, to reach for the stars.
76, you are go.
To make the unknown known. We count these moments as our proudest achievements.
Having fired the imagination of a generation.
But we lost all that.
Pulls into port for the last time.
Or perhaps we've just forgotten that we are still pioneers, that we've barely begun, and that our greatest accomplishments cannot be behind us, because our destiny lies above us.
Now, if that's
not one of the best movie trailers you can find.
Let me tell you guys something. I'm watching it here on my laptop, and this trailer barely showed any content from the movie itself.
Yeah, exactly.
That was just a showcase of
I remember
the soundtrack,
the
entire movie.
The
that was just
trailers were weird.
McConaughey's
It was just showing
silky smooth voice.
NASA.
It was like a Lincoln
footage.
commercial.
Yeah, it was like a Lincoln commercial, except
Yeah.
it made you want to look up to the
Smooth,
stars and just
seductive voice is just settling you in, telling you to buckle up for this movie.
That's so true about that trailer. Is it really didn't tell you.
I have no idea.
Literally,
what this
I have
movie's
no clue what the
about
movie's
from
about.
this
I just
trailer.
know I absolutely need to watch the whole thing.
And that was how the trailers were. When they were coming out, it was 2014. I remember the trailers were just kind of like a spaceship kind of going up to space, and the kind of ended, and it just said Interstellar, and you're like, interesting.
That probably makes a lot of sense. I was wanting to say the reason why I think this movie was so good, in my opinion, was that I had absolutely zero expectations walking into it, because I think it was around Thanksgiving. My cousins are in town. We decide, let's go see this movie. I was like, I'm not really. I think Gravity came out the year before. We were saying.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
I did not like that movie, so I was like, it's a space movie. And again, that trailer, I have no idea what the movie's about. I had no idea for the whooping my mind was about to take when I stepped into that theater.
Right, and I feel like with how trailers are these days with movies, it's kind of crazy. It's you can watch a trailer for any given movie, and it's I can probably tell you almost everything that's going to happen in this film. Not the case here whatsoever.
And that's what made this kind of movie it was so good. Like I remember watching it for the first time in the movie theaters, and I was just blown away by the entire thing. Just like 3 hours of nonstop, kind of just the perfect space travel.
Yeah,
movie.
just jaw drop after jaw drop.
And really, this was we could talk about this top space movies, but I ranked it Interstellar as my number 2. Behind 2001: Space Odyssey.
Well, I mean, that's fair considering Space Odyssey kind of paved the way.
It did. No, it really did. And as our professor, shout out Kevin Buckley, taught us. Yep, the
if
man.
you're listening. Yeah.
Of course he's listening. Yeah, he knows.
Yeah.
I actually did. I should email
Just
him.
absolutely
He would
zero,
probably.
absolutely zero shot. He's listening right now.
Richie, you don't know. All right.
It's a good point.
I tweeted this out tonight. So thanks to all those people listening tonight. It's fantastic.
All right, well, if you're
here.
listening, I definitely deserve better than a B-. So thanks for that.
What are you
Buckley.
talking about?
Kevin Buckley.
No, you definitely did not do the
Yeah,
ratings.
no, I cheated the whole time.
But the Space Odyssey was it was back in the 70s, and this did pave the way for Nolan's Interstellar with the shots, with kind of like this real kind of world, like exploring the outer space, and really another thing that was very important were the robots. Now, the best part of the movie.
Robots were definitely sick, and one of the things I wanted to get into was the best part about rewatching this movie today. I realized how much information they give you throughout the movie that goes right over your head for no reason.
And then you see TARS just come back out of nowhere and just list it
Do
off.
not be
for
afraid.
You. Yeah. Also, the aspect of TARS and how they use just artificial intelligence in this movie gets crazier and crazier as you watch it as the years go on, because it's like, oh man, I can really see this start to happen.
That's why the night humor setting is at 100%, and
honesty's at 90. 90%.
Honesty's at 90. Honesty always stays at 90%, no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
Because we're unknown human beings, and we do not act well under pressure.
Did you write that down, or did you just pull that off the top of the head?
What?
That quote right there.
No, that's what I watched it last night. That's what Tar says. That's why he says only 90%. And McConaughey's,
I know, but you definitely had that like word for word right there.
I mean, there's another quote that I'm going to pull out.
So another small detail. You know what was sick about the TARS robots is that a small detail that I missed rewatching, that they're like military robots.
Yeah, he was a Navy SEAL, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They say he's like a Marine.
Mm-hmm.
And like at one point in the movie, Matthew McConaughey's character, Coop, he's like, we don't have Marines anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, what is?
And he says you got to be careful with these military robots. They're haywire.
Right.
They're
And the other doctor responds to him. It's like, well, that's all we got.
That's
The
what they had to
military,
spare,
gave
yeah.
us
Right.
these, like ex-Marines to help us.
Mhm.
That's such a small.
yeah, ridiculous. Yeah.
Now, Jack, we're just going to say one thing before
which Jack?
the Jack to my straight ahead.
I go by Hansel as well.
Also, we'll get nicknames after the break.
Okay.
But maybe, I think, speaking to the mic, or might be having some technical difficulties. Give it a little test. Give it a little.
Pow pow.
No,
Poo.
not you, Jack. Not you,
Can I get a
Rich.
check 1, 2?
All right, so I'm mic 1. Richie's mic 4. Schneider, you're not mic 3 because that's mic 3. Maybe go to mic 3.
I'm
Mic
gonna
2.
take a quick migration.
Quick pause. Quick
It's getting
pause, ladies
cold.
and
Here.
gentlemen.
It's getting cold here. We're gonna migrate
I
down
got it.
south.
Now we're gonna listen to people music. Boop 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 boop.
Boop boop ba-doop, boop doo doo doo
This-
doo doo
this
doo
is-
doo doo.
This is human
There
music.
it is.
Hey.
There
Oh, I
it
can
is.
hear my own voice now. That's
Yeah.
nice.
Now we're good to go.
Wait, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, cool.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you.
All right, so thanks, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about that little technical difficulty. Some of these mics, I guess, are kind of broken.
Not the
Jack,
greatest equipment.
there you
I've
are,
been on
and
here.
we're back.
It's
And-
all they had to give us, just like TARS.
Hey, I'm happy to be here,
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
And thanks again, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in to We're Gonna Need a Bigger Blog. I'm your host, Al Kolker, and tonight it's a Jack episode with Jack Ritchie and Jack Schneider, also known as Jack Hans Schneider, but he did get sued.
Correct. The real Hans Schneider reached out to me and said I could no longer publicly use his name.
Oh, I thought you said Hans Zimmer reached out to you.
Oh, Hans Zimmer, who, by the way, scored this movie, Interstellar. Fantastic.
Phenomenal. Just tears every time.
Was so insulted that I was going to use his name for this broadcast. He decided to take it away.
Good friend, though, right? He's a good friend of yours?
No, I know him way back. Yeah, we actually used to go to preschool together.
Wow, that's interesting.
Wow.
Well, I'd love it if you would tell them that I actually listen to the Interstellar soundtrack every time I'm taking off on a flight.
How? Oh yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
what.
You know what it
Did
is?
you?
I
Tell
you
me
haven't
to do
done that,
I listen
listeners,
to
if
it
you
while
haven't
I'm
listened,
studying,
you haven't done
oddly
that.
enough.
Yeah.
But like, if you ever pull up, you ever like go to the library and just start cranking out
Yeah.
assignments, and I'll just have Interstellar in the back of my mind, just like I feel like I'm solving the problem of
Right.
gravity
And you-
as I'm barely adding
And you
numbers
finish
together.
like your 6-page paper, and you just
Right.
like pull out your phone. You're like, "Mom, I just want to let you know I love you." By the way,
Don't leave me, Marv.
No. So what we were kind of before we had to switch mics, but we were kind of talking about how the robots were kind of made. They said they were kind of Marines, but they mentioned how there's no army anymore. But what made this movie so good was you kind of had that realistic feel to it. Like it didn't seem so far off in the distant future.
No, they try to seamlessly blend the fact that like this is some dystopia future, like right off the bat. They're saying even the movie starts off with like the Band of Brothers-esque like interviewing of like people
of Murph in the future.
Yeah, it's Murph
yeah.
in the future, and that's like the very first scene in the movie.
Right.
And you don't know that going into it.
Yeah.
You're like, all right.
And you're like, what is this? Who is this old
I
lady?
was going to
they're
ask,
like,
do we
"Ah,
have
there was
any
dust, it
idea
was
like
terrible."
what year it was placed in the beginning?
I back in our high school days,
Yeah.
remember Matthew Coughlin, shout
Yeah.
out. I think he said he'd be listening tonight because he's a
Okay.
huge Interstellar fan.
Okay, cool.
Also, Michigan State kicker. He's doing
Yeah.
great this year.
Yeah, keep the boot up.
Keep the boot up. We could have used that boot our senior year, but it's okay.
Yeah, we'll move on. We'll move on.
well, no hard. But we did the math. We at our age, we would be Donald, Matthew Cooper's father-in-law.
Okay.
Because a key point he says, and when I was your age, they were coming out with an invention every day. Think
Right.
about where we are. We're boom, birds, limes, new apps every day. I mean, you could kind of say that's new technology every day, and really, there's like every day there's something new. Like we're on smartphones. You don't even see a single smartphone in this movie because they're kind of obsolete.
But they do have these futuristic forms of technology, though.
Like a walking, talking robot that
Right.
can do anything.
Right, but yet they don't have an iPhone, and it's kind of weird.
They do have CB radios
Notice that.
and these awesome farming machines that just do everything.
Everything.
I think it's just supposed to be in the not so off future.
Right.
You know, everything that's super advanced is the areas that I feel like needed to be that far advanced versus the rest of the world goes like, all right, we need to start farming now. Like our planet's dying.
It seems like it's just far enough in the future to where, we kind of have all these institutions break down. I mean, for God's sakes, when he finds NASA, he thinks he's being kidnapped and like
He covers his daughter's
by
ears, like,
some like
"We're
super
not."
badass assassin like guys in suits. It's NASA underground. So
And it's because the government they kind of like slowly take people's
hidden,
tax money.
they're hidden,
yeah, they're
yeah,
like
yeah.
nobody wanted to. And the whole kind of the real sense of this whole kind of dystopian world is that there was a shortage of food, and that's why like Matthew McConaughey, who is this pilot engineer, like
he used to work for NASA before they went underground.
He used to work for NASA. He's an engineer. He's a pilot. He's a dedicated father, but he's this now skilled farmer because the world needs farmers. And like there's kind of a point in the movie where a teacher is talking to Matthew McConaughey, and he says, "We don't need any more engineers. What we need is farmers."
Right.
Because we didn't run out of televisions or refrigerators. We ran out of food, and that's how people died. And that's kind of it is world. What day is it? I got like an email today from Global Citizen, this organization in New York. It's world. Here. No. Well, congrats, Meghan and Harry, the prince, for being.
Yeah. So
it's like
cool.
World Food Day, and that's how kind of important like. Really, the source of food is to like human civilization.
They said their only major crop left was corn, right?
That is correct.
Yeah.
And another huge thing that was threatening the human civilization is that there were these dust storms and dirt storms that would just go around the world, really, like carry up loads of dirt.
Can I just stop you right there and say this is going to be chock full of spoilers at the this whole
Dude,
show
if
is
you
going to be
haven't
spoilers.
seen this
This is
movie
4 years,
yet,
yeah.
you need to
Go
you need
away.
to sit down in front of the nearest TV and watch this movie and get your socks blown off.
It was on. Yeah, it was on. It's on
I want to
HBO.
wear 2 pairs of socks, honestly.
Right.
Actually,
Double
and
up on that
shoes
protection.
and a hoodie and probably a blanket.
Yeah, blanket. I mean, maybe get a cup of Joe. It's getting cold outside. I don't
Hot
know.
cocoa.
Yeah.
Nobody drinks coffee at 8 o'clock at night, Richie.
Okay, I meant hot. You got me. You
Yeah.
know what I mean.
But
That's when I do my deep thinking.
and so
I'm sorry.
there's these giant dust storms, and it really takes you back to like the Dust Bowl, and that's when the first scene opens up with those people talking about how there was just so much dust. Those were Dust Bowl victims. They were.
Yeah, it cuts to the guy in the beginning being like, he's like, when we set the table, we had to put the plates upside down. And it's like those elderly people are the young generation of the present coup that we jump right into the movie to. And it doesn't explain that to you. That's just,
That's a fun fact.
that's
you
your
got.
mind blow
And
number
that's
8.
what- and that's
you
what
know,
makes
by the end of the
Nolan
movie.
beautifully set up.
Exactly.
mind blow,
That's what makes
exactly, at
Nolan like the
end, yeah.
greatest director of all time. is
of our
'cause-
of our era. He
That's
just
goes
classic
the extra
Christopher
lengths.
Nolan.
That's what I'm
Just-
saying.
just
You
turning your mind into a
rewatch
pretzel.
this movie, you realize how much Nolan actually is telling you the entire time, and it goes right over your head.
That's so true.
But now that you know that's what the story is, like you see so many smaller details.
Right.
It's crazy.
It's definitely, that being said, it's definitely a great movie to sit down and watch many times.
Yeah.
Because you learn something every
We
time.
recommend watching this many times. Now, thanks for listening to Sean Callahan. He said Interstellar was so good because it wasn't just in space, but they actually went to outer space, which really makes no sense, Sean.
Yeah, I would argue space is outer space.
I thought you were gonna say it was really good because they started off on Earth, like kind of the future,
You know, and maybe
Earth,
went somewhere.
and went somewhere
I can
else.
follow that logic.
I could, yeah, but thanks.
Who was that?
That was
Some
Turtle.
guy named
That was-
Sean?
Some guy named Sean. I don't know. Some guy named Sean. But as you can, we're going through this world of Matthew McConaughey as a farmer, and he just stumbles upon NASA because of gravity, and people get all worked up about this thing called gravity. Which thanks to the Lord, it holds us down, it keeps us in place. But if you go to the moon, there's no gravity there.
There is.
There is gravity on the moon. That I don't want to blow your mind now.
Sorry. Yeah.
But there is actually gravity on the moon.
Yes,
Really?
dude. There's just less.
It's
of it.
less
Yeah.
than Earth's
It's
gravity.
less dense. Yeah.
The mass
why
of the
I'm mad.
moon is a lot smaller than the mass of
Well, I'm a
Earth.
communications major.
Okay. Or just don't have any common sense. So.
All right. All right, you got me there, Richie. But so this NASA has been working underground for at least over a while. They've been sending off these Lazarus missions to other planets where they got to go through this black hole, which most astronauts are terrified of black holes. I personally would not want to go in one.
It's not. Isn't it a wormhole?
It's black hole, wormhole, same thing.
Hulk again.
Dude,
okay,
I
man.
watched
Listen,
it. It's
I'm
the
no
same.
science guy, but-
Are the
I
Jacks the
think we're on
captain
the
now?
same wavelength.
The
that
Jacks are the
a
captain
black
now.
hole. I think I had to look up after watching this movie if a wormhole is a real thing, and I think people argue if it is or not. But a black hole is, it just sucks everything in, and then in the movie they do the explanation where they say, oh, if you want to go from here to here on a piece of paper, you can fold the piece of paper and stab
That was a black
pencil
hole.
through it.
That was a black hole.
That's not a black hole. That's
that
what
was a-
they're explaining as a wormhole.
Well, that threw me off.
You're just getting educated, son.
Thank God I'm here. But so this NASA, they've been sending these missions through a wormhole, I guess. Got to probably rewatch it tonight. But there's 12 other possible planets to take the human race to. Now, how they're going to get the current humans on Earth there, that's probably not going to happen. That's why that's their plan A, to kind of get the humans on Earth to this new planet. But plan B, which was really plan A the entire time, was to bring colonies of these.
That was the craziest part.
What was it?
Right?
Like the eggs, fertilized eggs, and like frozen chambers.
Bring a bunch of eggs, and I think they had at first they were gonna do somehow birth a couple of people.
They
and
said
then
they
they'll
would create 10 and then
right, and then do
surrogates.
in vitro.
Yeah.
So they'll keep growing exponentially.
I
think
was
they
curious
explained.
as to how they do the how they hatch those first few eggs. Not hatch, but
they put
grow
them in
those first few eggs.
they put them in water, give
I
them
know.
sunlight.
I think
I
it's
would've
one of
just-
those,
I would've just
things
liked for
that
them
you
to
buy at the
explain it a
store
little bit
and you
more.
just put it in water and it
Yeah.
kind of absorbs.
Like
and you
a-
grow that's how that works.
Like,
right?
can get-
like those
you can
things
get-
that you
you can-
drop in a tub and they get super big.
yeah, like a bath bomb.
That's right.
You
They're
can-
gonna bath bomb the
Boom,
new planet.
science.
Ladies and gentlemen, if
Yeah.
you didn't know, you can go to Walmart and get a box of 10
like,
fertilized
kids.
eggs
Yeah, and you can start colonizing tomorrow.
for a low price of $199.99.
Tax included.
God, we should have our own commercial too.
Man.
And
Do we have any ad reads?
We have no ad reads, but we do have one sponsor tonight. And when we take a break, we'll get a note from our sponsors tonight. Okay. Seriously, Jack. Jack's my Jack Ritchie. We're also just Richie, also known as Rack.
Yeah.
Or John.
I'm gonna roll with it.
So Richie was pretty surprised that we have sponsors, and yes, we do, ladies and gentlemen. This is our third week. We're doing pretty well for ourselves. 3 sponsors in a row.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm actually pretty blown away by that.
I know. This is serious stuff. He has no notes here, and the other Jack Schneider, he has his laptop out ready to go.
I got notes. They're all up
okay.
top.
He's pointing to his noggin, ladies and gentlemen.
Can I say one thing?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
When I watched this movie, the cast absolutely blew my mind. Because first of all, when you're watching it, Matt Damon comes out of nowhere. And you're like, wait, whoa, Matt Damon's in this movie?
Yeah.
And he
decided to take a break from The Martian and just come on.
Right. Didn't that come out around the same time?
Like a year after. It came out a year after.
I remember just looking at it and be like, what? This guy's too much of an A-lister to show up in the last third of a movie. Casey Affleck's in it. He's the guy who plays the son, Coop's son. Fantastic.
Can't forget Topher Grace, Eric Foreman.
You know what? While I was watching it today too, the funniest part, I was like, Topher Grace he's the guy from that '70s show.
No.
He's
he's
like the doctor.
He's like
I guess
Murph's
kind of boyfriend.
I guess, but he's a doctor.
The only real reason
he actually did a great job.
He's just get punched in the face. That's the only thing.
So he played the perfect role of some random normal guy.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Eric Foreman
that just gets punched. Eventually gets punched in the face.
Great lead in this movie. And Topher Grace, you want to be in it? We just need you to be some boring doctor.
Take
guy.
a punch in the face.
You're gonna get rocked.
You're gonna get rocked by a dude with a great beard. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was so now they're talking about our cast. So it was really stacked. Matthew McConaughey, our main protagonist, Anne Hathaway coming in as Dr. Brand's daughter, which is really like the co-pilot to Cooper and brings a lot of emotions and controversy to the table. But then you can't forget Michael Caine always. Christopher Nolan really kind of has the same kind of actors he uses in all his movies. Michael Caine is one of them. He was in Inception and the Dark Knight series.
And Aldrin, he's not in this movie, but what's the guy's name? Cillian Murphy.
Cillian Murphy. Yeah, he's in Dark Knight, Inception.
Peaky Blinders.
Peaky Blinders. But Michael Caine just comes in as a stereotypical old scientist guy who was also just
guy.
He kills that role.
He does.
In every movie, he's always that guy.
He's just the first time you see him, it's the best part. He's just taking Matthew McConaughey around.
Yeah, and he's just like, this is what we've been doing.
Yeah, oh, no one has any idea. Ha ha ha. The government has given all our tax money.
Because he's lying to them the whole time. I lied to you, Merv.
I lied. On his deathbed.
That's one of my favorite scenes in the movie, only because I remember the first time seeing it, I thought it was a really sad, emotional moment, and seeing it the second time, I think I just burst into laughter.
Yeah.
Why though? Why?
I don't know why. Something about out of nowhere, he decides to just tell her this horrible secret. He could have just died at the grave with it, but he's like, you know what? I'm gonna really ruin her day on my deathbed.
Yeah, first time around, you're kind of grabbing the tissue box and everything. The next time around, you're just like, wow, you're kind of screwed everybody. But
he sells the government off on this huge lie.
Yeah, but you have a cool British accent, so I guess we'll be okay with it.
I guess you're a doctor. I guess we'll give it to you.
I guess you are quote unquote NASA.
Yeah,
but
you're NASA.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so another thing that I saw when Matthew McConaughey comes back to this new world that they're orbiting Saturn, the hospital. On the desk, it says NASA. So I think NASA just owns the future world. Once they succeed in the equation of gravity, I think NASA just owns everything. NASA hospitals, there's NASA grocery stores.
Which is kind of crazy because if you watch the movie and you paid attention, they say that the reason NASA's underground originally is because they refused to drop bombs on the starving population throughout the world.
Isn't
which
that great?
is also something that they just kind of say in passing.
So
they make the current present of that movie so seamlessly. They just keep feeding you information that there's no more Marines, or when they pick up that satellite drone, they're
Indian.
The Indian solar drone is flying by. They're theirs went down the same time. Their government went down the same time ours did.
Right.
And then you're like, wait, what? Where is the world?
They do. They
what
really
is going
they
on?
do a great job job of painting the picture of what kind of like what the world has become. And another great example of that is when they're at parent-teacher conferences.
Yeah, where they're like, we need more farmers.
And that, and they say how their textbooks now have actually been changed
Fake
to say
news.
that they faked Apollo 11.
Just fake news.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. That's like telling Cooper that is like Rick Pitino getting that championship tattoo and then having it removed. It's like I flew for NASA like my whole life, and you're just telling me this didn't happen. I don't know.
And another thing that we really kind of catch in the first 20 minutes of the movie is that Matthew McConaughey is the next Einstein. He can calculate. He can.
Yeah, for some
somehow
reason,
hijack
this regular guy is just like the smartest man
He
ever.
hijacks an Indian drone
and best pilot ever.
While he gets his son, he switches his son to the driver's seat. He gets some kit that he has in his truck at all times, and points it, and he's telling his daughter, point it at the drone, keep it there, and he's like on a computer, he's like, he's just typing away, and then boom, like, oh, yep,
Controlled,
It's just like one of those air hawk things.
Yeah. He just hacked into a government drone just within like 20 seconds.
I know how to do this, Murph.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's really insane. He does that, and then he goes into parent-teacher conferences, which I think was really funny because it's like I was an adult when I saw this. I would have been like, oh, like no way, I hate parent-teacher conferences too. Like these are the worst thing ever. And
he hates them.
He hates them, and he. Well, I mean, I would too if the teachers told me my son can't go to college when he's way smarter than anybody.
They even just feed you more information too because at one point they're saying Cooper's sitting there getting pissed off because they're like basically insulting his intelligence or like the truth that he knows. And he's all of a sudden he goes like, oh, like we don't need those useless machines, and he snaps and looks at the woman like useless machines. Like,
and he gets really serious.
one of those MRI, like one of
It
those
looks like he's
useless
about to
machines
cry,
was
yeah.
an MRI machine. Like my wife could have been saved, like if we still had those useless machines.
Yeah.
And
He
then
totally
you're
just shuts them
Then
down.
they're like, oh my
Ultimate
God.
spin zone. Ultimate spin zone.
I love it when he's just like, they're like, oh, like what are you gonna do with Murph? And they're like, well, there's a baseball game tomorrow. She's kind of going through a baseball
kinda really
phase.
likes
There's
it.
gonna be soda and popcorn, and I'm gonna take her to that. and he gets his daughter suspended, and Murph's like pissed, but really it's like the best thing for Murph because she was beaten up, she was getting bullied because people said the moon landings were fake.
She was way beyond not only the other students in her class but her teachers as well.
Yeah,
So-
she was just making her teachers look dumb, which is really impressive for her age at 10, which was pretty impressive.
You know what makes me like super impressed about this movie too is that like it actually like relatively stays like grounded within like actual science. So like in the spaceship that they take, I think they call it
Endurance.
Endurance.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yep, I had to look
Great
it up.
name.
Right.
Great
So cool name for a spaceship too. So in the Endurance, and the way they have to simulate gravity is they have to rotate it in like a circular motion, and then like through that force, everything is pushed to the outside, and that's like how you can actually simulate gravity. And like they make that true in the movie, as well as like when Matt Damon's character is trying to dock with the ship.
Oh wait, did you just say docking in the ship?
Oh my.
No,
Is this the music
keep
that
going. No,
plays?
keep going.
All right, so
It's gonna
Matt
be the
Damon
break
out
music.
here
Yeah.
is trying to dock with the ship, and he keeps telling them like imperfect black, like he can't do it, and they're out there being like, Matt Damon,
Dr.
no,
Brand,
please.
I need to do this for the sake of humanity. But
And so he opens it, absolute chaos. Like it shows it, but the sound is completely silent. Like you're watching him, and he's saying like Dr. Brand, and then it's silent, and it just shows the ship like getting absolutely destroyed. But it's so weird not hearing an accompanying sound to that, and that's because like there's no medium for sound to travel through in space.
Right.
And that's like another random example where they like scientists are actually like, oh, this movie
That is one of the
pretty
biggest
neat.
just pit in your stomach scenes.
Now,
of all
ladies and
time.
gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break. Now, we got our first note from our sponsors. Tomorrow at the same time at 8 p.m., tune in to Red Hawk Radio to the Matt and Jake Show with Max and Jason, where they talk about sports and nothing else. They just give their highlights. It's actually really good. I listened to them last week.
It's pretty
Yeah,
funny. I
yeah,
tuned
it's
in
pretty
last
funny.
week too. Yeah, there are a couple of funny goofballs out here.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, this guy. They say this Max guy's a real goofball, but
Something's goofy.
something's goofy about him. I don't know.
Good old Ron.
Good old Ron. Do you know Ron? Do you know Max?
I've heard about Ron.
You've heard about it?
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, here's No Time for Caution, as Schneider was talking about, this real intense moment, and just take it all in. And ladies and gentlemen, that was the No Time for Caution soundtrack. And we're back. I'm your host, Al Colker, with We're Gonna Need a Bigger Blog. And a special guest tonight with the Jack episode. We have Jack Rack Ritchie from DePaul University. Go Tigers!
Yes, sir. Go D3 Dreams all day.
And on the other end of the table, we have Jack Hans Schneider.
Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, I just want to give a
That is,
great
in fact,
shout
my
out
name.
to the Jackson Herman. He's listening, tuning in right now. Thanks for listening, Jackson. And another input from one of our listeners, Zach Donnelly, says his take on Interstellar is that is absolutely, positively ridiculous and so impractical because there's no sound in space, and it's just great. And also, he's with our good friend Max, who's on the tomorrow's show. You guys should listen to Jake and Matt's show with Jason and Max, and where they're talking about sports. And he says he agrees with Donnelly's take. So, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, with Interstellar, the 2014 beautiful movie.
My God,
on
dude,
space travel.
that song gave me goosebumps.
Yeah, while we were in here, we were reenacting the whole entire scene of Cooper. So as we were kind of talking about, Matt Damon hijacks the ship, hijacks the crew, really kind of takes over as being really selfish, just
a mean guy,
a real mean guy, and he tries to lock on, get aboard the Endurance ship, and he can't do it because the awesome robot TARS has changed the locking mechanism.
Right. He didn't trust him. He's like, your trust setting's lower than mine.
Yeah. So, and all thanks to TARS, as Matt Damon, Dr. Mann, tries to connect to the ship.
Well, right. The reason he's leaving too is because they all go to his planet, and they're like, "All right, we're here." Like you flipped your beacon, like you said, this is a cool planet, and Matt Damon right away is just like, yeah, and he and Matthew McConaughey's character go to where there allegedly is, great land or some sub-level surface that they can go to, because they're on some ice planet that's freezing, but Matt Damon keeps saying, no, there's this livable underground place, it's great, let's go check it out. The whole time Matthew McConaughey's character is trying to leave. Like, he's gonna leave and go back home because he knows that Earth is dying and they're just gonna repopulate here on this new planet. So he's just gonna dip so he can go see his daughter again. And so the whole time, Matt Damon is like stalling so hard. And I noticed that rewatching the movie today. He's like, oh, like there's like, you know, this ice storm. Like, it's not really safe
It's
to
so
like
true.
adventure out like doing this. And Matthew McConaughey
He really
like,
didn't
no.
want to,
He didn't want to have to like.
but he had to.
He didn't want to admit, obviously, that like he just lied so he could be rescued. So he's saying like, oh, you got your long range communicator, and Matthew McConaughey's like, yeah, like let's go, like I want to see this. Let's set up our camps, and like I'm out of here. And then he's like, are you sure you're fully charged? And then the other guy's saying like, you know, I'm gonna go check your robot and you know see if I can fix it. And Matt Damon's like, yeah, you probably shouldn't do that.
That thing's once that thing's back on,
Yeah,
that's gonna
he's
explode.
trying to like low key tell him like,
Don't do that.
you probably shouldn't mess with that because I
And-
rigged it to blow.
And you know, this is like honestly, it's one of the few movies where Matt Damon is kind of the bad guy. I mean, he's the bad guy in The Departed. I'm trying to think of any other movies where he's the bad guy. I mean, he's Jason Bourne,
I'm pretty
which
sure
is
he's
the great.
the bad guy in Good Will Hunting, right?
No, what?
No.
No.
Well, hang on.
He's troubled. He's troubled.
Yeah.
He's not bad.
He's not bad.
Yeah.
He's the man with the apples and the brains.
Yeah.
And he's awesome. What are you
But
talking
one
about?
thing- okay.
That's like one of my favorite movies.
I'm gonna
I
move
know
on
you're
from that
kidding.
statement.
Yeah.
I'm gonna move on from that statement.
Well, we were just kind of blown away by the docking scene is one of the most intense scenes in this movie.
Also, Matt Damon's character is a great example of how even when you're in a complete other galaxy, on the other side of the universe, the Karma boat still stays afloat.
Exactly.
Just saying.
Yeah. No. That,
Karma Vote very much is still rocking.
Yeah, or actually, in his case, it sunk pretty damn hard.
and
But,
actually, just you exploded in outer space
yeah.
and you are dead.
So, how about that?
So let's get into our segments here, Richie, who says sounds a lot like our other sponsors, the Rewatchables at the Ringer.
For those of you listening, this is not a ripoff of Rewatchables.
This is not.
I promise.
No, Sean Fennessy has given full support.
Yeah, and it's not because
And
I
so
say
Bill
it's
Simmons.
not, and that's kind of it. So,
And I'm expecting to meet with them in a couple weeks, and we're going to see if they can come on.
good old Bill.
I know, great guy. So we're going to get right to it. Best scene.
You wanna lead off?
No, Richie. No. You know what? You take the lead on this
Okay,
one. Yeah,
okay,
yeah, Captain.
Yeah, I'm in. No, I'm just here's.
You need a haircut.
I know. We'll get to it.
Yeah.
Maybe when I get back to the big city of Greencastle, Indiana. But
Population 36.
we're repopulating currently. But no, we
wait, with those
Plan A or Plan B?
yeah,
Plan B.
yeah,
Strictly
Not the
Plan B
pills.
over
I
there.
just meant like the.
No, the
the,
eggs,
the
eggs.
fertilizer
yeah,
eggs
yeah,
at
yeah,
Walmart
yeah.
for let's say again, $199.99
plus tax.
plus tax, 10 fertilization eggs
Right.
at
Available
Walmart.
at Walgreens now.
Limited.
And you can start repopulating like Greencastle, Indiana.
Limited time only.
So
Go.
favorite scenes, I had trouble deciding between two of them, and I'm just going to kind of throw them at you. The first one is, I think the scene is actually called "Those Aren't Mountains, Those Are Waves."
Yeah, that's by far my
Pretty
favorite
wild.
scene too.
And there's a couple reasons why. One, because I honestly did think that, like, even watching it again, I thought those were mountains coming at them, or just like off into the distance. But when they're down there in the first world that they stop in a different, like through the wormhole, one, that's arguably the most important, like, that's the most important world that they visited because it was the most likely to support Earth. And not only that, it was the most dangerous for them to visit too because every hour down there was 7 years back on Earth.
Critical.
You want to hear the craziest part that I read in the comments of the illegal
do.
stream I watched Interstellar on
I
today?
do want to hear that.
It was actually insane. I believe this is fact, and there's in no way I could support this claim.
Mm-hmm.
But it says that while they're on that water planet, you know, there's the score to that scene is, you know, it's building natural suspense, so it's got like a ticking sound.
Right.
Because, you know, they're obviously running out of time, and you know, time is of the essence this whole time they're on the planet. Every time the music does like a tick, it actually kind of sounds like a drip, like a drop of water too. They say that's 1 day on Earth back home.
Wow.
So I was like watching the movie after reading that comment,
man.
and so you're watching that whole scene, and it's like drip, 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 drip.
And
And
you're
you're
just
like,
like,
oh my
years,
god, that's
boom.
like yeah, day, day,
and
day,
shout
day.
out to one of my good buddies, Jack Kavanaugh. He showed me this technique that Hans Zimmer uses a lot. It's called the shepherd's tune. Now, it's 3 notes. One note is a high note that consistently goes higher. There's a middle note. So 1 always stays high.
This is like the chord that
This
they're
is
playing
no.
or
This
something?
is just the sound. Like this
What
is
is
the this is the ticking noise that you hear.
Oh, okay. All
But
right.
so it sounds like it's increasing, and it's in every single Nolan movie. It's in Dunkirk, Inception, Dark Knight Rises.
okay.
Dude,
but
it raises tension. That's what it is.
it raises it plays with your ears and it plays with your brain. It sounds like it
Keeps going up.
Yeah, it tells your brain that it's going up, but really it's just there's 3 notes. The first note is consistently staying higher. The second note stays consistently at 1 volume. Then the third one kind of fades out. So as it like continuously plays, it's like sounds like one's going up and then it goes down, and one's going up, one's going down.
No
It's just
way.
continuously. It's called the Shepherd's Tune. It's fantastic. It's like a 3-minute video on YouTube. Look it up.
That's just some weird Hans Zimmer knowledge that we would just
the
have
level that
no
Hans Zimmer
idea.
goes to.
Back to the day.
Yeah.
And Hans Zimmer, this is what made this movie and all of Nolan's movies so good. When he brings in Hans Zimmer, it's game over.
Yeah.
It's just game over. You can listen to the soundtrack when you're studying, when you're driving, when you're and it's just a great soundtrack. And even Dunkirk, Dark Knight Rises, Inception, all just killer scores that bring the emotions out in all his movies. And that's what Nolan wants, and that's what Zimmer brings.
Right. And last thing I will say about my favorite scene real quick is another reason I liked it so much was because I forget his name, but the dude with the beard, you know what I'm talking about?
You know what? I got the cast right
Yeah,
here.
can you give me the cat? You know
Romley?
Is that his name?
Romley.
Yeah.
I just knew that guy was gonna die, and I was kind of just like waiting for it to happen. And
Doyle!
yeah.
Say that to Doyle.
And he got Doyle. Yeah, that's right. And he got.
Doyle dies immediately like, on the water planet.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm talking about.
so mad.
Once
Oh,
he
that's
died,
the
I
beard
was
guy.
once he died, I was like,
You know,
all right,
I was
well,
thinking of Romley because when they come back, he's like,
yeah.
it's been 23 years. Like,
Yeah.
And he's got a beard on.
I was in debate between the scene I just talked about and that scene for my favorite one. But
All right, boom. Jack. Best scene. Go.
You know, I'd have to argue also that the water planet is the sickest scene, but I think my favorite scene honestly is like it's so crazy when Matthew McConaughey's character is gonna launch, like he's leaving Earth, and he's got to say bye to Murph, right? And you know she's crying because she thinks he's just leaving her. And he's like, I gotta go, and she's crying, and she doesn't want to give him any love or affection or attention. And he's like, Merv, don't make me leave like this, Merv. Like, don't make me leave. and then he's
Don't make me leave like this, Merv.
It was just in the trailer that we started with, and I'm laughing now because it's just kind of it seems funny to picture Matthew McConaughey acting this out, but he's driving the truck away, as in the background you hear like 5, like 4, ignition, 3, and like it's going to him, but it's to him just driving away from the house, and he's like slumped in his chair so far back, and like
It's
got
so
his
chill.
head cocked,
It's
and
so
he's
chill.
got like one tear coming down his eyes. And I think I remember the first time watching the movie just being like me being him. I was like, I am so invested.
So
in
what's
this
your favorite
movie.
scene?
That was it, man.
No, him
It
driving
was
away?
Like, I think I shed a tear after watching that. All I could think was, "Don't make me leave, Marv."
Dang, I was totally gonna say that as my favorite scene because it's so epic. He like gets in the car and all of a sudden you start hearing like the rocket get ready.
Yeah. Right?
And he's
So
driving away and
intense.
you see Murph run out and you're just like, oh my god.
it's almost like the perfect ending to a good chapter in a book.
yeah,
know what
yeah,
I'm
it really
saying?
is. And like
Yeah.
boom, they're off on their way to
Perfectly
Saturn.
said.
Yeah.
No,
So my favorite scene
Now
now.
talk about the black hole when he goes in.
oh, that's so well. That's
seems
that's
sick.
one.
That has to be talked about.
Not
It's
not
alright.
okay. Not my best scene. Not my favorite scene. But we'll talk about the wormhole, not black
Okay.
hole. Wormhole.
No, that is the black hole.
Okay.
That is the black hole.
Okay.
That-
All right,
Yes.
fine.
I don't know what it
I'm
is, but
trying to
we're
clarify
dubbing
this.
it.
All right, well-
oh, is that actually the black hole?
Yeah, well, the wormhole is just what they travel through
Yeah,
to get to
yeah.
the other dimension.
I hear you now. Okay.
All
And
right.
then he
So
goes-
my so yeah, I'm done with your black hole nonsense, wormhole.
That's why you asked me
garbage.
to be on.
Yeah, exactly. So my favorite scene, it's got to be the docking scene.
It's just so sick.
It's just well, one you think
I'm like
immediately
sweating by the end of it.
immediately when Damon's trying to lock on and the ship blows up, you're speechless. You're like, this is over. Like it's it. Like they're gonna have to go back to the planet that they just deemed like unlivable, and they're gonna have to live there, and that's gonna be it. But no, Matthew McConaughey Even the robot's like, Cooper, it's impossible. And Matthew McConaughey's like, no, it's necessary. And you're just like, oh my. You're like, yes, like full throttle. They're like, throttle the engines, go up. And Cooper is like talking to the robots. This is where like the robots come into like huge, like they're working the controls like any other human would be. They're moving it 2 degrees starboard. They're communicating, like they're like lined up. Like, Cooper, you're lined up. Hey, Richie, we got 15 minutes. Get off here.
We got
Well, you got places to be?
No,
You're on fall break, Richie.
Continue.
God, what a loser.
You know what I wrote in my notes? A funny plot hole of the movie.
Yeah.
Cooper's son has 2 kids, right?
One dies.
And one of them dies, which is kind of sad.
Totally
Basically.
interrupted.
Ooh,
That's okay.
that's
You know,
slept on.
it's not like you interrupted me. or
And his
anything,
name, the son's name was like Jesse, and Cooper's like the family's
Jesse.
last name.
Yeah.
No. So it's Jesse Cooper's is like the grandson's name. They get another kid. They name him Coop, in honor of his grandfather, who's He's like Joseph Cooper, so his name is
Cooper.
He's Coop
Wow.
Cooper. That's what they named the kid.
Yeah, we caught you,
He
Nolan.
said we named him like Coop after his grandfather.
Yeah. You
But
thought
his
you-
last name's Cooper.
You thought you were slick, Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
We caught you.
Got him red-handed. His
Yeah.
name's Coop Cooper.
Expose him.
Yeah, you're listening, Nolan. Your career is over. We're going to come in as our new directors, and we're going to take over.
Interstellar 2.
Now that you bring that up,
Would that work?
could there be a sequel? Because they left it kind of. I mean, of course, Nolan doesn't really do sequels besides the Dark Knight trilogy.
No, dude, that movie, I think it was
ended
like it's
as-
just
yeah.
a cinematic masterpiece.
That
I
you
think it's
can't
supposed to
top.
be.
You
It's
really
not.
You can't make it. You cannot
Watching
make.
that movie is like an event. It's not
Yeah.
because
It's 3 hours.
the first time I
That's what I was
saw
gonna
it,
say. You can't make a sequel to
That's
a movie
true.
that's 3 hours.
first
totally
time I
can.
saw
They
it,
did with
me
Lord of the Rings.
and like the people I saw it with went home in the car silent. Like no one said a word. No one had like anything to say because everyone's mind was just rocked.
Right.
You-
I mean, they did leave it on a little bit of a cliffhanger, so I won't say it's
Sure.
like it's possible, but
it's
is
also
it the right move?
They leave it.
Absolutely not.
They honestly they end it the perfect way possible. They kind of Cooper comes now to Cooper's station and he's like, oh,
He's
it's
like,
named
"Oh,
after
named
me.
after me."
Psych,
Yeah.
bro. It's named after your daughter because your daughter's the real genius.
You know what? That was also a really super sad scene too.
It was so good.
At the
though.
end, with just Murph and Cooper.
Because they're like, like when the Murphy came back,
Right.
they're like, oh, she's inbound. Like when she heard we found you, like she came right away, and like her whole family, because she's like, you know,
She's old.
She's an old grandma now. She's
Yeah.
got an entire
She's got her own
family.
and
kids.
he's still like a spring chicken.
Right.
Yeah.
He's still
'Cause
like
time has
30.
changed. Yeah,
He's
time is-
35
He's
or
still
however
fresh
old
out of a
he is.
Lincoln
Yeah.
commercial. Yeah.
And
You know how
another
they drive these spaceships.
and another quote that I will never forget, and one that I say even sometimes, and I'm going to say it when I have kids. But once you have, so McConaughey says it to his Murph when he's about to leave. He says, "You know, your mother said that when we have kids, we're just memories of our kids' futures."
Right. I do remember that.
crazy.
And it's very true. It's very true. We are kind of the last kind of pieces of our parents, and they're gonna be the only memories. Or I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, but
Yeah. I mean,
it ends.
they live on through us.
Yeah, they
you
live
know?
on through us.
That's the only way it goes. You know what? There was also a quote in that end scene when Matthew McConaughey's leaving. He's like, "How did you know I would come back to Murphy?" And she goes, "It was I like." She goes, "Because my dad promised me."
Oh,
And you're like, "Oh my god!" And then it just keeps flashing
I got
through to like
goosebumps
the
right now.
relationship of like the father and daughter, and like you know.
in
yeah.
the beginning of the movie,
crazy.
you kind of think like, "Oh wow, like I wish Matthew McConaughey Cooper was my dad because he could just hijack drones, work a farm, do all this really cool stuff." But then you're like, "Wait a minute, this guy just ditched his family for like 60 years."
I was expecting David Wooderson from like Dazed and Confused to be the dad of this family.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, all right.
Yeah, I was
We're gonna
expecting that
solve
Matthew
gravity.
McConaughey, and then I come into this movie,
Yes, bro. David,
and it blew my mind.
if you haven't seen Days Confused, you should totally watch it. One of the best movies ever. It is.
It is. No, it is.
It's up there.
It's
up there.
probably all-time movie, or probably one of the best casts for a movie of all time as well.
Now, before we get out of here, what are some other good space movies that you guys think? So right on my top 10, I got Space Odyssey. It's my 1. 2 is Interstellar. 3, Close Encounters of a Third Kind. 4, The Martian with Matt Damon, who's really just in Interstellar the entire time. 5, Aliens.
Aliens is dope.
I know, favorite movie.
I've never seen Space Odyssey.
Space Odyssey is blown away. 6, Wall-E.
Absolute classic.
Classic. 7 is the true Alien with just not plural, just Alien. And then 8, Red Planet. 9, Galaxy Quest.
I didn't know this many space movies existed, honestly.
And 10 is Gattaca.
Does Star Wars count?
No, see,
Star Wars counts, dude.
I did not count Star Wars.
I guess you could say that's just a Star Wars movie.
I
That's
did not
like
count Star Wars. That's the thing. I looked up space movies, and Star Wars was on
Star
all
Wars
of them.
is its own genre.
Yeah.
Talk to the
I
mic,
feel like
Richie. You
that's
can't
kinda
be
like
like
its
that
own-
far away.
Sitting like 3 feet away.
Yeah. I mean,
You're agreeing with me, but you didn't do anything.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
It's like Brick from
Hey, you're shouting.
Top space movies for me. This is right off the top of the dome. So
Yeah.
I don't really know. I don't have 10 like big guy Alec over here. But
Well, I just wrote them down because
Yeah.
I put them on my blog, holkerthoughts.weebly.com. Check it out.
all right, yeah. So top space movies for me is Interstellar is definitely one of them. And there was this phase that went out when Martian came out with Matt Damon. When
say
people
gravity.
tried to say that it was a better space movie than Interstellar,
Everyone said that movie was like
Yeah.
unbelievable, which it was, I guess, but like
it's on my list. It's definitely not in front of Interstellar though.
yeah.
I think I want to go see First Man, but I don't think
I heard
I'm
it
gonna
flopped. I heard it flopped.
You heard it flopped?
Yeah.
It
For some reason, I heard that a lot of people were like pissed at that movie.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, or either it was like glamorizing, that it doesn't have any of like the scientists or something.
okay.
It was either that or something
Dude,
else.
scientists are key.
Dude, people find something to complain about all the time.
Oh, Avatar. That's probably my number one.
That's a space
Okay.
movie.
That's a
The
space
other
movie,
two
dude.
I was thinking of were Avatar 1, and honestly, might be my number one. I'm not sure. It's either this or Interstellar's Arrival.
Oh, blown away.
Yeah, Jimmy Renner.
You know what? You know what? Actually, I think is definitely in my top 3. Let me see what it's rated real quick because watch it. Yeah, it's got horrible ratings, but Elysium. I think that movie's
so good.
I think that movie's sick.
Definitely did not make my
Dude, how
top
many
10, but
space
probably
movies
11.
is Matt Damon in?
He's a lot, man.
Yeah, oh
He's
my
just
God.
hanging in the outer years. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in tonight. Special shout outs to my Aunt Jody and Uncle Jeff. Thanks for tuning in. All the way from Cincinnati.
Thanks, Jody. Thanks,
Yeah,
Jeff.
no problem.
That was Jack. And another shout out to Scott Story. Thanks for listening in, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for the Jacks tuning in.
Peace.
See ya.
And here's Baby, B-A-B-Y by Carla Thomas, Baby Driver soundtrack.
Nice, dude.
Baby, oh baby, I love to call you baby. Baby, oh baby, I love for you to call me baby. When you squeeze me real tight, you make wrong things right. And I can't stop loving you. And
In the garden, you were digging blinds. I dug you, beg your pardon. I took a photograph of you in the herbaceous border. It broke the heart of men and flowers and girls and trees. Another rainy day, we're trapped inside with the train set. Chocolate on the ball.